We're gonna start this thing. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Let's
Mic
go.
check.
Let's go.
Woo!
Oh,
We're here.
on.
We're on. We're live, man. Look at those guns, man.
Phew.
There's
Sorry.
guys out there. Woo, big guys out there in this industry, pushing some real weights.
Yeah.
Working out. I mean, just man. I know, I see you out there. You're out there putting in the time into the gym, man. I see you grinding.
Yeah.
Saw you the other day. Rain. Was it sweat or was it rain? What happened?
All of the above, man. All of the above. Like I just, shout out to Justin Von Egan, down there. Like that guy, just inspiration. I got a picture of him on my mirror in the bathroom in the morning. I just it's a shrine. Every night before I go to bed, I pray towards him. Just, inspiration.
Guys, he's got quite the bodybuilder, man. Big shout out to Justin, man. Big personality too in the final expense world, running a great team, right, under a great company, and good guy in the business. So look, we're here. Episode, what is it? 4? Episode 4.
I think so.
Yeah, episode 4. We're learning every week, trying to get better at this, and still bring value to everybody out there, and make this fun, educational, and really trying to help new agents, agency owners, just everybody who's in this industry, try to avoid some of these potholes and challenges that we all face as agents and agency owners. So today we're talking about a topic that sometimes pulls the little hairs I have left over here on each side of my head every time I go through, right? So today, let's talk about, how outdated some of these, portals are to run applications, commissions, getting set up with new carriers, the delays that happen, and and I think we even talk about, for us, some of the recommendations that we use as independent agents to write business, some of our favorite carriers, and some of the carriers that it's like, man, you got to stay away from some of these guys because from front to end, it's a problem. So that's our topic today. Start us off, Eric. Like, what are your thoughts, and where do you want to kick this off on?
Yeah. Wow. That's a huge can of worms, and it's such a God. It has to be talked about. And you and I even, there's moments where we're like, man, our Rolodex is pretty thick. Like, do we just make some phone calls and start our own insurance company so we can just do things
like a carrier? Like let's get funding. And let's become a carrier, because all these guys are still in like 1970,
I know. I don't know what we call it, the Colombian and Cuban insurance company of America. I don't know, but I mean, it's in some ways it's that bad. And look, and when we talk about specifically, like a lot of what we focus on, and with agents and whatnot, is final expense. And when we talk about applications, when we talk about as agents, especially telesales, right, where I think, the majority of final expense agents in America are operating remotely over the phone. And when you look at the process that's required, right? So let's assume you have an amazing lead program. Let's assume you've got an amazing script. Let's assume you're the best closer in the world, right? You've got the commitment, you've got everything. And to get to that point takes a lot of damn work, right? It takes a lot of work. So you've got the commit. You spend an hour on the phone with somebody, and now you've got to get an application completed, right? Whew, easy. If the job wasn't hard enough, now these insurance company carriers have now made it even more difficult, and they seemingly are getting even more difficult, right? I don't understand. There's two sides of this. One, I love the carriers that offer voice authorizations. right? Give us a
Right.
voice signature on this app. We're dealing with 55 and above. If I had to put an average age, it's probably 65 to 70 years old. And yeah, I don't know what you would say. If you would say half, maybe three quarters now of carriers are not allowing, or they've removed, they've stopped, voice signature. Some of them are adding, a lot of them are removing, making things incredibly more difficult. But I just throw out, like, I just don't understand. These companies are 100 years old. They're worth billions of dollars. How can we not innovate? How can we not help the process? How can we not make the application easier for somebody like me who's talking to somebody 5 states away, 65 years of age? They're on a Nokia 8000 flip phone, and I'm trying to walk them through an email signature. Like, do we
Yeah.
understand the challenge of that? So, and that's incredibly difficult. Look, and I mean, I would love to go. Actually, I don't want to go back and look at every app that I've done that required an e-signature that I've lost, right? Like thousands of dollars. Legitimately,
Yeah.
I can go
Well,
back
and
90.
like age, because in those moments when you're in those apps and they don't go through, or it fails, or like it get freezes, or you're aging like years
Oh,
in those 30-40 minute calls.
yeah, no, it's 2 bottles of bourbon in each hand, and it's just, yes, Susie, please check your spam folder as well. It
Yeah.
might be there,
one,
right?
one more time, like, here,
One more
can you
time.
log
Yeah,
into this
yeah.
Gmail address that we made you?
It's
Like,
like,
man, it's just
you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do like a live stream, and it's like everybody has to take a shot when you say, like, check your email folder again. Like,
it's unbelievable. Yeah, look,
it's
it's it always like really baffles me. But I what's interesting is I also understand it in to some degree, right? Just to talk about both sides of everything. But on one side of it, it's like, yeah, especially the bigger carriers that have merged, or are trying to like continue to use the same technology, right? What's called legacy technology that they maybe built 30 years ago,
mm,
and it was revolutionary then, and they spent the millions of dollars to do it, and now over the years they just keep like Frankensteining it. You know what I mean? Like they don't
mm,
they don't change it because of the amount of money it costs to probably do something like that, and so they keep putting these like band-aids, and then things like a buyout or a merger happen at a major carrier, and now they're trying to merge two technologies together, and like UIs and back ends, and it's like, man, that stuff is hardcore, and I
mm,
think you see that, and that's where you see these carriers that build out these e-apps, and there's companies out there that are third party that try to like have one e-app and then offer it to all the carriers, and those are pretty good. Um, but I agree, man. Like, if you're in the business of selling burial insurance to people who are over the age of 50, 55, and average is much higher than that, like you said, then why are we not catering to, one, make that e-application as easy as possible for that person within regulation, right? Because I also understand, like, on the other side of it, that audience is heavily looked out after, right? And so carriers do have to be very careful in making sure that they're not putting seniors or elderly people in situations where they can be taken advantage of,
mm.
and so that's the risk part of the carrier's point of view. And
Yeah,
so I understand, and I can also see how voice applications, or easier methods, are so great for us as agents, and at the same time probably open the door up for a lot of misuse and pushing of it, and you know what I mean. And then again, that's where it opens up, where now you're putting somebody at that age bracket in a position where they can be taken advantage of. So that's the other side of the coin, but I do think there's a happy medium. I mean, I do
right.
think that there's somewhere now more than ever where technology has to play a part for these carriers in really making changes. And we talk about this, right? We've talked about it before, like on the front end and sales side of this business, or any business, technology is changing it very quickly, and this is happening in a lot of industries right now, the changes that are going on. And so it's inevitable that over time, and I think it once it starts happening, like once one carrier says, hey, you know what, we got to make a change to our technology, this is like 30 years old. Once that happens and one goes, they all start going, because they all got to keep up with each other. You know what I mean? They're going to lose a lot of business if they don't. But I think it's that innovation. They have to start moving and making these changes to make it easier. I think it's absolutely bananas that there's still portals out there that are literally like made on MS DOS. And like you're trying to get through this application and they're asking for fax machine numbers. Like,
Yeah.
it's out of control, man.
I mean, it's like, yeah, you have to play the side, like you said, there's a balance, and it's either you're on the side of the agent, you're on the side of the consumer,
right?
Where you want to have, but I feel like these guys are not on either side. They're just like let's make this as difficult as we can. And I mean, I legitimately in the last 90 days, no exaggeration, no sarcasm at all, I guarantee you I've lost at minimum $8,000 to $10,000 on apps that are pending, that I spent hours like sending videos of me like going through, of talking, and them struggling to load an email link that they've submitted, right? And then I mean, these people who are dying for, that's a bad term to use. These people really these people really want the policy. And I've got them in with a carrier that is, one of maybe two that's going to approve them. And I legitimately cannot, outside of me taking a flight 5 hours away from me and taking an Uber an hour to their farm, I cannot get them. I can't get them on. And it's literally, it's, I hate to use the word impossible, but these carriers have made it so bad. And there's really no other workaround. So I totally get it. I get from their perspective, the risk management. And man, look, there are a lot of slime balls in the insurance industry that are taking advantage of seniors. And so these companies, they want to offset, like they're going to play the safe card. They're going to take away more liability than, playing that risk game. So I get it. But at the same time, it can't be to where it's so impossible. Like, they have to understand, selling a term life policy, doing e-signatures with somebody who's 35 years old, is a lot different than a 65-year-old person who is just, obviously for obvious reasons, not tech savvy, doesn't understand, hasn't done a DocuSign their whole life, things like that, right? Let's make it easier. Let's do a voice authorization. Sure, as an agent, I'm willing to jump through hoops to mitigate that risk and the liabilities. But let's not make it impossible. So yeah, that's and I mean, I think that's a huge learning curve for new agents, right? When they're coming on board and they're like, okay, well, man, I need to get my leads going. I need to get my scripts. I need to get polished. How am I handling objections? All these things, right? You got the commitment, and now you have almost in some cases, a bigger hurdle now just to get them applied. So that's
I think you have look, that's the side of the agent now, right? Like looking at it from that side, which is what we're here for, right? So now these are the things that as a new agent you're going to go through. If you've never sold final expense, I always mention it as, it's the underwriting hump, right? Like you're going to have that time frame, and it's going to take you a month, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, a certain amount of time. And agency owners mitigate that by saying, okay, maybe not contract the new agent with 20 carriers, maybe just start them off with 3 or 4 or 5 to try to not make it so overwhelming that it's like, all right, well, where am I bringing this person? Because everything changes, like Mike Tyson said, right? You're ready until you get punched in the face, right? And then you're not. And so when you're on the phones and it's one of your first deals or your first, presentation that you're doing, and the person actually says yes, right? And now you got to go put them into an e-application. Everybody, all of us go through the jitters and the feeling nervous and like, man, and all of a sudden, like, nothing works, right? And so, as an agent, you're sitting there trying to figure out, where am I placing this person who's a diabetic or just had a stroke or whatever, And that learning curve is, man, it's a challenge, and I don't think there's many uplines out there that are saying to people, hey, this this is going to be a major challenge to you,
Right.
come join my team, and you really hear the opposite. you
Mm.
know it's easy, we got a system, we got this, we got that. It doesn't matter what you have. If you're
Mm.
going in as an independent broker and you're going to be shuffling 3 to 4 or 5 agents or contracts or different carriers, you're going to have that challenge in the beginning of understanding where you place that person, how to really multitask while you're on the phone selling a deal, and then going in and doing an e-application, and knowing that that passes pretty quickly, right? Like once you go through a few presentations and a few of these carrier apps, you start feeling so much better. And there's still going to be the frustration apps and the
Sure.
shitty times where it's like, man, how is this not going through? It happened to me 2 weeks ago on an Aetna application, which Aetna's a pretty simple, care application for the most part, and everything was like perfect, and it froze. It
Mm.
just froze on me, like right at the end. We were confirming, and then I knew it. I knew it wasn't going to be saved, and there we were. We had to restart it, go back in, and nothing was safe. The whole thing was
Oh.
gone, and it's like, all right, hey, Mr. Jones, we need to do this all over again, But you learn how to not become emotional about those things, which are important as an agent.
Mm.
You have to be ready for these things to happen, right? Because if you
In
can,
real time.
you
Yeah.
got to be ready for shit to go wrong every single time that you're going to be on a sale, because then you can really react to it accordingly, not use emotion, but like logic, right? All right, how do I
Yeah.
quickly recover from this? I got somebody on the phone, it's a deal. You got to make it seem like nothing is a problem when the shit hits the fan on your end and you just lost all the information, so. But yeah, it's a challenge, and it takes some time. And I think that if agents just focus on getting past that and knowing that it is going to get better and you are prepared for it, and nothing can really prepare you for it, right? Because it's just an underwriting thing. Like you just got to go and do it,
Yeah.
So, but once you do get through that underwriting hump, you really feel much better and you start really understanding how a carrier works, who you're going to bring to that carrier, the type of person, and like we talk about it, there's people that are great for, Mutual of Omaha. Big shout out to those guys, great carrier.
Yeah.
But there's certain people that you might not bring there because the application is a telesales is not easy for somebody who doesn't have an email or is 75, and it's just going to be impossible to try to get that person to do that e-application, even though it's a great carrier and they offer great products and all this stuff. So let's get into maybe talking about some of these carriers and see if they cancel our contracts for talking good or bad about them, right?
I know.
But look, we're gonna keep it real out here, man. Like I think that's important, for people to know. Like, okay, here are the carriers that are for us that are working, that are not, and maybe that's different. I know we don't, we're contracted with so many carriers, right? We have 30, 40 carriers. We don't use, uh, you know,
Yeah.
10% of them, maybe 20% of them max. I think most of the business is running through. So, and you can speak more on your experience too. Like, what are some of your? I guess let's start with the good ones. Like, what are some of your favorite carriers to do final expense deals?
Yeah, great. That's probably a shorter. Yeah, that's a shorter message. My favorite carriers of going through. So yeah, I mean, look, for those that join our team as well. You hit the nail on the head. Like, look, you got to become a pro at 4 to 5 at most, really getting going, and 90+% are done with a couple carriers, right? And look, in the future, once these guys are gonna obviously execute major sponsorship deals with us, then I'll disclose who those carriers are. But we'll
Yeah.
just until then we'll keep that under wraps. And if you're listening, carriers, no. So yeah, no, I'll be real. It you know, when it comes to the full package, getting people under going through underwriting, understand their conditions, understanding most people lie to me. I need an application that's going to let me that's going to really adjust with me on the fly. That is so powerful. Like you said, right? Whether you have an internet outage, whether you have somebody who's like halfway through an application and is like, "Oh, Eric, I forgot to mention to you
That's right.
forgot to mention what I did tell you I was a 10 out of 10 perfect health. Like, I did go to the hospital a month ago for chest pains, like,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh God, like, what did they diagnose you with? And, oh, nitroglycerin, like, great.
Yeah.
I totally get why you forgot about spending 2 nights in the hospital,
Yeah.
and so, but that happens, right? And it's
Yeah.
maybe that's an exaggerated example. Not really. I've had that
Pretty
conversation,
common.
but
Yeah, it's
yeah.
literally pretty common.
Hey, yeah. Oh, I do actually am hooked up to a machine, 18 canisters to sleep at night. You know what I mean? Like,
As we speak right now.
Yeah. If you say that one more time, I had to take the oxygen mask off my face to answer. So,
but I'm good. I'm healthy. I'm healthy out there,
I'm healthy as an ox, man. Like, whatever you need. And so, yeah. So to answer the question, look, one of my favorites is Mutual of Omaha. Great carrier. They could definitely streamline the, you gotta log into their sales portal, then you're going to iGo, eApp, let's integrate this, guys, because the double logins with my text message, like, it's getting into Fort Knox, and then when I'm live on the phone with somebody, I'm spending 3 minutes, 4 minutes going through the process. And, like, come on, let's straighten this up. Now, anyways, but again, one of my favorite carriers. I hate to say it without a sponsorship deal, but it's coming. I feel it.
I think I just got an email notification.
Yeah.
From,
good. They're like, we're in. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the last time. This is the last time. It's a one and only. This is a freebie, and then everything. So, but yeah, look, what I love about them is that they will take me from a level to a graded plan in the middle of an app.
Yes.
And I don't have to wait on anything, and which sometimes it does suck. But look. Right. Give me that live, like, everybody's going to trigger that MIB anyway. Right. And so let me know right now. I got him on the phone. Yes. And as you get polished as an agent, you also know how to set the tone, right? Because based on my conversation, I can kind of get a feel if they're lying or if they're just hiding a little bit of the truth. So I can I stage the conversation through that, right? Mutual of Omaha, one of my favorite companies. They'll adjust the application on the fly. Or, hey, maybe I didn't realize that weight they gave me triggered into a graded plan, Right. All those things. It really is so helpful. Instead of like the alternative of me submitting an app, I wait maybe sometimes an hour, 2 hours, depending on the carrier, sometimes 1 to 2 days, and then you get a decline, right? And now it's the next day, it's 2 days. But between the time that I did that application and the time that I get that response, I've made potentially 300-400 phone calls. I've done 20 more presentations, and now I get Susie Q. I got a decline, and I'm sitting here like, all right, let me rack my brain. Yeah. What was this conversation? And I'm trying to, like, okay, let me go back and listen to my call, figure out what maybe happened. Right. Is she going to pick up the phone if I call her back and tell her she was declined? Did I just lose this deal? These are all the things that are going through my head. So when we talk about an application that changes on the fly while I'm in it, huge. Right. That's huge. Yeah. It's huge. And then look, and I'll give them shout out. They're underwriting. You get a personal email from the underwriter. Huge. I love that. Everybody take notes. As an agent, I can reply back to that underwriter. Right. And then I'll get a response. It does take maybe a day. I wish that was faster. Look, beggars can't be choosers, but they give me a person. I can reply back. Look, it's like it's 2023, and I don't have to email a robot and go into a queue. So I love that, right? That's one of my favorites. And they're always available, like you could there's the phone number, you're going to talk to somebody live. Yeah. That day, they close, they're open till 5, but anytime before that, man, you're going to speak to somebody, you're going to get answers, you're going to get assistance. So yeah, I agree with everything. Yeah. And then, just staying as far as for like a level plan for kind of the best policies, I'll go in a tier, and you mentioned it before, Aetna, Aetna, CVS, they're now together. and they've got a couple different products. They do cater well to the, over 80. I would say they're probably the best level policy out there in the market. One of the best. I won't say the best, they're one of the best. When it comes to pricing, their app is super clean.
Yeah. I like their app.
I hate that it went down for you, but it's straightforward. It's clean, simple. I feel refreshed when I open up the app. Like it's such a mood change when I go into somebody like, I hate, like American Amicable, let's just say it, like it's good policies.
Good products, right?
Good
like,
products.
man, it's like, man, you guys have killer products, guys. Why am I logging into an MS-DOS portal to write an application, guys?
And why does your logo look like my 8-year-old, put together some clip art and, look, great product. I got a big, nice, they send me all the mail. Look, they're great products. Their underwriting is pretty lenient, especially some different, but let's be real. I mean, hey, we're being real, right? Like, I have I've written a lot of their policies, but let's just, I get in that application and I'm like, man, the stress that we have of executing an application, and I'm looking at this thing like, how is this going to work? And
right, how is this data going to go to anybody once I hit this, this like block button that I'm looking at here?
Like
it's so wild. And I, like, it's funny, it's not, but man, you look at that and it's like, yeah, man, this technology could be 30 years old, and
it probably is.
And they're still running it, and they run their entire operation off of it, and it's like, whoo, guys, man, there's and
look, and I'll play devil's advocate. I get the fact, look, you're an insurance carrier, you have thousands of agents out there, you've got a process going, it's working. God, if I update that application site, I've got to now train 1,000, 10,000 agents on how to and I'm going to risk maybe losing more deals. It's a big hump. I get it, but let's get out of 1970, please, and let's do this refresh.
No, look, that's a good point too, because listen, I don't think agents, nor should they really, but I will tell you that rolling out tech, any type of tech, is one of the most stressful things that you can do as a just a business owner, right? And I say that just, like when I was in e-com, we had to automate as much as we could because we were in a warehouse with 15,000 SKUs and it was 20,000 square feet, and it was just massive. And if we didn't automate and keep up and try to figure things out in a better way, we wouldn't have gotten to where we did. But man, rolling out technology in any form, shape, or fashion, it is a pain in the ass, man. And if it doesn't go good, and you end up in, you end up somewhere where it's months and months of like bugs and testing and this and that, and thousands and thousands of dollars later, and even now, when we're helping agencies set up like a CRM for the agency and put together like a lead distribution system, right, to control all the leads and ship them out to each agent automatically. Those aren't easy rollouts, and if you don't know about those things, it's like, well, I want this, I want this, I want that. And it's like, man, sometimes with technology, you have to do it little bits at a time, so I agree with that too. It's tough, but man, we gotta make some changes over there, guys.
But look,
like, man,
look, full circle. When in insurance company, listen up. I will take a customer to Aetna if it's the same price, same product versus AMAM.
Yes.
Because of their application. So think about that.
Yes.
Think about, and that's a large majority of my business. And if I'm going to write now $100,000 in AP this next year for that company, for Aetna over AMAM because of their app, that's real. Like that's real. Because what we talk about just on the show today, we've talked about the pain and the agony of getting people approved. Right. And so I'm literally going to, and look at it, it might be a little bit of a worse product, right? Like, but so again,
Yeah.
how much business are you gaining because of your of being pro agent, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you come up a little bit. If these other guys, if their app was easier, how much more business would they get?
Man, good question.
Yeah. So
Good question.
so we have there and now, and then look, and when it comes to term life as well, that's a big part of this as well. When we go there, and that's where it's a love-hate relationship with AIG, right? American General Life, now
Oh,
Corebridge, all these
man.
things going on. Look,
Man.
amazing term life products. Their pricing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so cheap. Like, and
Yeah.
it is solid, and their underwriting. Look, for the time you take an application, the applications are very easy. From the day you hit submit on that application, the worst customer service you could
Good
ever
luck.
possible
Good
experience.
luck out there, guys. Good
Like,
luck, man.
I get anytime you send a message, you get it back. You get an email back at 3 a.m. from I think Cambodia. I think that's where it comes from. Your support and any part of the process, especially if it's term life and there's medical exams involved. Like they don't even they could be waiting on something and they won't tell you. Like it's so when I do term life, I tell people, look, I've got this option with this company AIG. It's a great price, but look, I'm willing to give you and apply and do this process with you, but you have to follow and track it because I'm not. Like I'm going to go ahead and do this. There's other options, right? Like and there's other great carriers that are going to cost you more money, and I'll offer those. And a lot of times I'll say, look, if you want me to go through this with you, you're going to have to stay on it. Now with final expense, I have to. It's anything that comes up. The work is. I don't care if it's through their portal, if it's emailing back, we're talking days of response time. It's, and then if you got to call them, it's challenging. Great application, great e-app. It's easy. I do a lot of their guaranteed plan policy out there. I think it's one of the best on the markets. And all of our agents, we set them up with that, and everybody raves, oh, that application, what a breath of fresh air. So easy. Yeah. It's only gone down. I think their site's only gone down a couple times in the last year. So it's sturdy. It works. Great product. God, they have a lot of work to do after that, though. They've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, because look, I think you give them more of a break when it comes to the term life. I'm not offering that to anybody, because of that, right? Because it's like, man, what are we doing here, guys? I just got a lead. I paid for that lead. I generated that lead in some way, shape, or form. I'm bringing you a customer, right?
Yeah.
And that I've acquired and that I'm now going to hand off to you so that we can both benefit in this transaction, right? And you as the carrier are going to benefit much more than I am as an agent in the long run. And why do this, and uplines and IMOs we'll talk about. Well, they joined ever since they joined with Corebridge, and that's been going on for a couple of years, this merger of these two massive companies, right? Just a piece, not right, because it's not all of AIG. They just sold off their final expense and the term life product and the underwriting and all that. So they had to break off this piece off their pie and then send it over. And Corebridge came in and, laid on top of it. And, and it's just like these layers and layers of red tape. And it's just a ball of shit. Literally, that's what it is. There's no organization. Again, like you said, e-app is great. Submitting it, fantastic. Ease of use, awesome. Once it gets to an underwriter, this thing where they shuffle this and you actually don't talk to an underwriter, but you talk to a mediator, right? Who's on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And I'm not against, outsourcing work, right? But there has to be a real system that is being followed that results in deals actually going through. You know what I mean? And so you're communicating with this middle person who's communicating with this underwriter, and it's days to go back and forth from one to the next. It's terrible, guys. I agree. Another carrier that, man, if they just got their shit together and really made some changes on the
Mm-hmm.
support side and the back end, man, I'd put all the business through there for term life because it's a great product. And,
Yeah.
but, and it seems like across the board, when you do talk about like getting medical exams, term life stuff, like underwriting is challenging, especially if you're going through that additional step of medical exams, blood and urinalysis and all that stuff. Like, as an agent, you have to, like you said, like you got to be clear with that person, like, hey, this is a great rate, but we're gonna have to do this for it, and unless like I can't come over there and prick you and call the place for you, so you have to be very clear, I think, with those customers. And if you are, I think you get through it with a carrier that has a better process.
Mm.
I for one won't take any business over there, like you said. Like I'd rather explain to that customer, hey, look, this might be a great rate, but it's terrible. Our chances of actually getting it through are like, 10%. For a
Yeah.
few bucks more, here's what we can
Mm.
do, right? And
Mm.
it's faster, it's easier, it's turnkey. Let's go. And I'm shifting that person that way, and the selling more the value and the benefit of not so much the price, but more all of it as a whole, right? So, man, if we can't get through underwriting, what happens when that person's family die, right? When that person
Mm.
dies who has that policy, and now the beneficiaries are calling on underwriting, right? And the carrier to get paid out. Is it going through somebody half away across the world and waiting 2 days, and then 2 days
Mm.
later, and it's a week before somebody responds to somebody that just passed? You know what I mean? And so I think about that, and that's what I talk about with a customer, like, here's an option, but also think about this. And so if you want, when you die, for your family to be able to pick up a phone, make a single phone call, and within 24, 48 hours have a check or have something ready to go, AIG might not be that carrier.
Mm.
Unfortunately, like that's the reality. And so, but one of the few that offer guaranteed issue on the final expense side, are aggressive with it. And I do think that they deliver, but it's I think you're going through hoops,
Yeah.
rather than other carriers that are out there.
Well, and yeah, I mean, like a perfect example, like we want to talk about like what a hoop, like hoops are. Like I had a couple very affluent, and I was doing a couple term life policies for them. Live in Colorado, and they're building this mansion in Utah across state lines, and we need medical exams. And should be a very straightforward,
Mm-hmm.
easy setup.
Yeah.
And they call, or I'm following up. I have to make, I think, about 10, 15 phone calls over the course of 30 days to say, hey, these people haven't been called to get their medical exams set up and scheduled. After 30 days, they get a phone call and they go, and it's an exam company from Colorado. They're at their estate in Utah, and come to find out, the Colorado they can't schedule in Utah, and so
Right.
that's a phone call back to me back to AIG back to the company. They confirm that. They come back and say, oh yeah, you're right. And now we go and then I go, okay, can they just schedule it in Utah? And that's a me call back to AIG Corbridge, back to the exam company, back to the customer. And the customer goes, I'm not available. And then it's like, why?
Man.
Like this. And so it took 6 months, 7 months, I think, for me to finalize. And I can't believe I didn't lose the deal. These were
It
like
was a 6 month. I remember the deal. It was
yeah,
a 6 or
yeah,
7 month deal. And by
yeah,
the way, it was a $6,000 or $7,000 premium. So I mean, it
right.
was,
Huge.
big shout out. But yeah, it was a 6 or 7 month process to write the deal. So it's like, how sustainable is that, right? Like, how can you
Yeah.
grow a business if it takes me 6 months to close a deal with you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's in my opinion, just my perspective looking at these people, it just must be too much business. Like they can't. But like for me, if I'm the owner or if I'm the CEO of these companies, I'm like, man, if we have a pending application, that should be number one priority for
Number
this
one.
entire company. Like,
What do we got to do? Let's get through this thing. Is it dead? Is it alive? Push it through if it's alive. If nobody's got, damn it, call these people. Get them on the phone. get them on exam 1, go get this, send somebody out. It's crazy, man. But I don't think it, I don't think
I've
it works that way.
never, like, look, I'm going to go on the record right now. Today is what, September 15th, 2023. I have never, not once, received a call or an email from an insurance company saying, hey, Eric, I noticed you put in an application for John. How can we help get it closed?
Yeah. No.
Hey, how can we want this deal? We want their business. How do we finish this? What are we missing? You know,
No.
like, no,
I don't think so. It's
can you imagine? I mean,
yeah.
if I was a
because
CEO,
these underwriters are overworked. You know, the underwriters are getting another. It's like, oh man, another one. You know, and now it's an underwriter that should be doing 30 policies underwriting at a time, but now has to manage 45. You know, because they let go 3% of their staff, and you know all these things that come into play. But all right, so you know, look, I think we gave some good nuggets out there to people.
Yeah.
I think we'll talk about the carriers that we don't care for, and maybe look out for on another episode, so that we can maybe stay on the air longer before before we get completely shut down. So on an upcoming episode, once we have a sponsorship locked in, we will talk about some of the carriers that we don't care for, man. But
right.
Look, I think we cover the ones that are good.
Yeah.
But all in all, man, like I think you know, get ready for the challenges that are coming as a new agent, as an agency. Make sure that you're prepping your agents that are coming on and giving them real expectations, right, of the business and what's really coming, because that's going to help you keep those agents longer. You know, if you're being real and giving them the right information, man, it's like they'll go to war with you, right? If you build a team and you're solid and you're upfront and you're giving them what they need, everything's not always going to go perfect. But if you prep them for the things and the challenges that they're going to face, you're going to keep that person, and they're going to go to war with you at good times and at bad times. So that's my 2 cents for agency owners. What are your last words, buddy?
I love it. I mean, just, you know, lift weights, close deals, baby. You know,
Let's go.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, God, you talked about at the beginning. Just like, let's just try to get people out of the traps that are being set from shady characters, man. And so that's the whole goal of this show, is let's just shed light on everything, and, you know, and educate and let everybody just make the decisions that they feel is best for them. And like I put a story last night, man. If I could save one person from going down a black hole of death in this world, just not knowing, or you know, that's what we're here for, man. So that's all I got.
Hey, look, and we're always here, right? Like anybody have questions, you know, post comments underneath. Guys, give us a like, give us a share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, go on and subscribe to our Facebook group. We're constantly putting content in there. The thing's growing pretty quickly. And yeah, if you just have questions, like, just reach out to us, right? We're here. Yeah. We're agency owners. We're agents. We do lead generation. We cover everything within the insurance business. So if we can help you in any way, come check us out. Follow me on My Insurance Aid. Follow him at The Policy Dude. One of the funniest characters out there right now in the insurance world, educating and going viral, man. Hey, last word, big shout out on that last video. I mean, 100,000 views.
Yeah.
Right? It was, man, that's incredible, bro. You broke the internet. Rogan called, you're on the podcast in the next few weeks, man. Awesome to see you scale and just move up, and not just on the business side, but on the social and building the presence that you're building, man. So huge shout out to you, man. Congratulations on that first viral video, and many more to come, man.
Yep. Thank you, man. Well, I'll see you soon.
Let's get it.